Okay, I think we should be good with recording now.
Yes, seems to be the case. Yeah, I can lead the meeting, or at least propose that we start the meeting now. I think that most who answer the doodle art is there, so that's fine. Anyway, there was an agenda posted yesterday, and the first point on the agenda is, let me find it back, about FPM. Sebastian, you propose to discuss about the usage of environment variable in FPM.
Exactly.
But before you start, can we add more stuff on the agenda?
Excuse me?
Can we still add more things to the agenda?
Yeah, the agenda is quite full, depends on.
Okay, that's fine. Then Sebastian, go ahead.
Yeah.
If there's time at the end, we can just, go ahead with extra items.
All right. Can you allow me to share?
Yeah, just a sec.
So what's this about? I started last month a pull request to allow FPM to read most of its settings from compiler from environment variables. This is, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
So we have the compiler switch, which is currently reading from FPM compiler. But we also have something like the flag option, but there's a lot of other things which can be customized, but are currently not customizable. And for one, this pull request completes the compiler and flag switch by adding a C compiler switch, C flag switch, the possibility to choose a custom archiver, and to modify the link flags. And additionally, to not have to set all those arguments for every invocation, because if you build with FPM and want to test, you have to carry around all those flags. I want to introduce the possibility to have environment variables. And the canonical environment variables like FC, F flags, CC, C flags, RR, and LD flags, which are used by a lot of build systems, would be one option. Now the question is whether we want to allow those or only use the FPM prefix by default.
Would not be possible to use both? Saying that
would be possible to use both. The question is whether we want to use FC by default.
Can you summarize the arguments against using CC by default? I think it's been discussed there.
The argument usually boils down to those environment variables could be set by accident. And then FPM changes its behavior. On the other hand, it's your argument, so please.
So the argument for is that a lot of existing build systems will probably recognize things like FC, CC. So it might already be, users might already be used to setting those environment variables. The argument against is, like Sebastian said, that you might set them by accident, or my argument against environment variables is usually it's hidden state that I have to remember is there if I want to understand what my commands are going to do. So I tend to avoid using environment variables, but I completely understand that there are people who like using it. So I'm not opposed to supporting it.
So I think Yeah, that is the issue, I guess, or pull request 444, where this has been extensively discussed. And I think the main argument against using CC variable is that suddenly FPM is depending on the user's system setting, as opposed to just be relatively independent of that. And it seems kind of fragile. It seems very easy to for things to stop working. For example, if it's invoked as part of I don't know, later on spec and conda, and these variables will be set, and it seems that it's more robust to have better control, kind of explicit control over this, and not using them by default. That way we know that if it breaks on users' computers, we know it's not because of any of these things. And then say you really want to be using the CC variables, we can add a flag maybe to optionally use them. Or if like typically, if you know that you want to set these compilers, you can also set them using the fpm_cc. Like, I guess, Sebastian, what is your use case for?
My use case would be exactly compiling in spec or compiling in conda build, where conda is setting those variables automatically. But if I don't read from them, my build will be wrong. So I will not build against the conda toolchain. I will build something which is incompatible with the conda toolchain and will not work on a different system. And I have to remember, if I don't set the FPM variables, my build will be broken. And this is a hidden barrier for somebody who wants to automatically use FPM in a conda build, which they have to learn, maybe the hard way.
Well,
by producing a package which is not working.
Yeah, so let's brainstorm how to fix this use case. So the use case is the use case that you are submitting a conda package to conda forge, and the Fortran package, say stdlib, is built using FPM. Is that the use case? So in the build.sh. Yes. Okay, so the way it works, in the conda build, there is a build.sh, and also on Windows build.batch, I guess. So on Linux and Mac OS, build.sh. In there, you just call FPM directly, and it's true that conda sets the CC variables, and in fact, it gets complicated on the Apple M1 where it's cross-compiled. So you essentially have to find the C and C++ compilers and Fortran compilers using the variables CC and FC, I think, variables CXX. So for this use case, this particular use case, if we add an option, use variables, then all you have to do is just put that option in FPM build, and it would use those variables. So that's one option. The other option is all you have to do is just to export FPM_cc equals CC or something like that.
Yes, exactly. But this is actually an issue I don't want to get into, because now we have to patch conda build to set those variables to support FPM builds, or the packager has to know that FPM is different than all the other build systems which are currently supported in conda build. So it makes it more difficult to correctly package FPM projects instead of they are just working. And the environment variable, of course, has the problem that it changes the complete logic of our command line interface, as I alluded in this.
Would it be possible to detect, for FPM to detect that it's being called from within a conda build and then use those environment variables, but not necessarily do so otherwise?
This is fragile, because probably, if we accidentally detect we are in conda build in a user shell, then we might run into issues. And I've seen this with Meson, which detects if it's an OS X depending on a certain binary which is around, which can happen to be around on Linux if you are cross-compiling, and then accidentally tries to run like an OS X on a Linux machine. So we shouldn't try to be particular smart.
Okay, fair enough.
Lawrence.
Thanks. Yeah. So one of the options discussed in the thread is adding a command line flag like use env variables. I just wanted to know, Sebastian, whether you'd be open to that behavior, basically, where we don't use environment variables unless the user specifically asks for it on the command line. Does that is that an allowable solution? Because that would protect us from accidentally running into issues in a user shell from these kind of default environment variables, but then it would allow you, for your use case, to kind of adopt them explicitly. Is that acceptable?
And I'm not too happy with this solution because the current way our command line interface works does not support this. So we would have to rewrite the complete command line interface for this. Currently, we are setting the defaults from the environment variables and overwriting them if the command line switch is there. If we check whether there's an environment variable switch, we only know after the fact whether we are allowed to use the environment variables in the first place, which means that we have to change the logic of the command line interface to first pass the complete command line, then figure out whether we are allowed to use the command line variables, and then backtrack whether we got command line argument, and then fill in the defaults. It's of course possible, but it is a larger restructuring. And I currently quite like the logic that you can actually check the command line interface output for what is your default on your system, and it will also show you what the environment variable is read from your environment would be if you don't override it. It's I mean, it's possible. I can implement this. I think it's not the best solution with our current infrastructure.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think I mean, it sounds like it provides quite a good solution in terms of the behavior, but it just requires a large amount of rework in terms of coding.
So I have a couple if it seems that if this is hard to implement, maybe the design is not the best, because it seems this should be possible to do either way. But another argument is reproducibility. So we currently hash each dependency. Well, actually, I don't know if we do it, but we should hash each dependency based on things that it depends on. Once we start depending on environment variables, we have to, I would propose to include that in the hash. So when you change these variables, things have to change. And is that how it's done currently? That when you, for example, change the environment variable and run FPM build, that it will completely redo everything because the variable changed?
There's only a bug that the C compiler is not included in the hash. This wouldn't change, but this is clearly an error. But if you change the Fortran compiler, you of course get a completely new build. So
I guess that will be a compromise, that like as long as it's clearly, and okay, so one thing that I would propose, if we really want to support the CC variables directly, as an example, is to have a flag that prints it out exactly what variables got read, so that the user knows, okay, it's using CC, and then, so also, can you summarize which variables exactly are we talking about? Just the compiler selection, or also flags, F flags, C flags?
Yes, so the idea was to support everything we are able to set. So this is the compiler, the Fortran compiler, so FC, the flags, which is the F flags, then the C compiler, which we are using, which is CC, the special C flags, which we're currently not supporting over the command line, which but also might be too modified. Then potentially the linker flags, in case we are building against a custom sysroot like we would do in Conda Forge, which we also can't set right now. And maybe also the archiver, in case we want to create an archive which can still be used for something like link time optimization. Also, if we have a special archiver like which comes with the Intel toolchain. So just not hard coding any program we want to use, but make all of them customizable in case the toolchain is completely custom, but default to something useful.
Mhm. So it sounds a little bit like there's some amount of conflicting requirements here. Like we want users not to accidentally muck up their tool chain by setting the environment variables when they don't want to, but we do want Conda, we do want the environment variables to automatically be used in Conda. So like setting the default behavior is actually in conflict here a little bit. And so the question that comes to my mind is, where are we likely to get the most reports of bugs or confusion, or where are users most likely to run into trouble, and where will we end up spending more time trying to help users? And so set the default to what minimizes our response from our users, I think. And I tend to think there are going to be a lot fewer people trying to produce Conda packages than trying to just use FPM in their own environment. I know that's not the answer you're looking for, but I tend to think we should focus more on what's going to be the most helpful to the most users.
Lawrence.
I just want to say that I think listening to all of the kind of arguments here, I do agree that I agree with Brad in that, general everyday users, we don't want to be kind of putting them at risk, so to speak, in terms of exposing them to changes in their environment, which we have no control over. And I think my preference for moving forward would be implementing a flag so that this smaller group of people, the people using Conda, can enable this behavior explicitly. And I think we should just work around the coding challenges that presents. I don't think we should be dismissing it as a solution just because it requires a little bit more work to implement. So that's my opinion for how to move forward on this.
For Sebastian, I have like a workaround, for the coding workaround. One, it could read an FPM underscore enable, it can read an environment variable to enable reading the CC variables if that's easier to implement. But there are other ways. You can also parse the command line first, just quickly to see if there is a flag to read the environment variables. Then you can read. There's a couple of ways. There must be a way to do this.
Yeah, I think a two-pass algorithm for reading in the command line and environment variables would be doable, right? And we read the command line, see if that option's set our default, and then reparse the command line.
Yes,
it's slightly less efficient, but
it should certainly be possible. So the question, just for me to finish this up. So as the pull request stands right now, is there something that needs to be changed? To that, it's just so right now, what I want to implement first with this pull request is like completing our command line to be able to set a C compiler and the link arguments at the archiver, and allow consistent variables for all of them prefixed with FPM. So if we don't want this environment variables, we can remove them all together and only have the command line arguments. But this would be my wrap up for this pull request, and then we can discuss the individual parts and move them forward as separate patches.
I think my preference would be to have this pull request just do the command line arguments, and then have a separate one for the environment variables. I'm a little bit on the fence as to whether or not to just go ahead and do the simpler one first that just does the FPM prefixed environment variables without rearranging the logic for parsing the command line. I think it's unlikely that people would accidentally set those, but I'd have to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, Andre.
Yeah, so it seems this pull request is fine to merge, isn't it? Like, why would we merge it as it is? It seems it doesn't. It only introduces the FPM underscore variables. So is there an issue merging it right now?
Yeah,
that was
we lost Sebastian.
I think we lost the position. Brad, what was your argument against merging it now?
It's just doing two things is my only
Oh,
thing. I'm not like opposed to merging this one, but like if in an ideal world, do one thing at a time. So
yeah, so I agree with that. But the way it's written, yeah, okay, so that I agree with, except so I guess I'm fine merging it either now or separating it to two and merging them. But I think there is no kind of, as far as the change is concerned, it looks like there are no objections against those.
yeah, I think it's reasonable. I'm not strongly opposed to it. So
yeah, good. Yeah, it seems that we lost Sebastian. We can.
Yeah, he'll come back.
Yeah, we'll come back. Then yeah, there were two other things. Yeah, that also link it to Sebastian. Yeah, so maybe I propose that Andre, we can start with your topic, and then when Sebastian is there, we will come back to his points in the agenda. Good.
Okay. Well, my topic, I was hoping for Sebastian to be here also. So I'm trying to we are trying to release Fortran MVP, minimal viable product. Initially, I thought it would be once we can compile some of the larger proxy apps, but that would still, looks like we are not there yet, but we can parse them and do the semantics for the proxy apps. But until we can actually compile them, some of the semantics might not be correct. And so we decided we do want to release MVP before Fortran-Con. And so I created a demo app, and I'll send you a link kind of showing what already works. And it's a demo app that computes integral of some functions using Gaussian integration. It reads from a file or writes the mesh and the values to a file using RC binding, and it's an FPM package, so you can use FPM to build it. I just sent a link to a chat, and I was gonna kind of ask. Well, and also we have a page that kind of summarizes the status of what features work and what don't. And I'll send the link to it also. And I was gonna kind of ask if you think that's a reasonable kind of a state to release MVP, or if we should maybe wait and do it later with some more features. I just sent a link to our progress page.
I'd say that already sounds like a pretty complex demonstration for an MVP. So if you can do that, I wouldn't say you haven't gotten far enough.
Yeah, I'm looking to the link you sent. Could you maybe explain the demo shortly, or? Did we lost Andre?
We can still see him.
Yeah, he's still moving.
Yeah.
His eyes are.
Connection issue.
Yeah. I wonder if he lost sound or what he lost. Yeah, lost sound.
So the minimum. Yeah. And is Sebastian back meanwhile? Just checking for the next topic.
I saw him come back for a second, but then he dropped back off again.
Yeah, bad day. We also lost Milan.
Well, Milan said he was at the playground, so maybe he just got home and he's switching devices.
Yeah.
And Andre says his internet is unstable too. Just one of those days, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. Happened.
Is there? Oh, Sebastian's back. Maybe we can talk about his stuff.
Sebastian, do you hear us?
Yeah, sorry about this.
Oh,
Understandable.
yeah, good. So I don't know what to do now. So we switch to the topic proposed by Andre, which publisher link MVP. I think his question was about publishing. Oh, yeah, I'm not sure what was the question actually.
I think his question was he posted a link in the chat to a demo, and his question was kind of, do we think that is sufficient for releasing the initial version of Fortran, like the minimum viable product is what he calls it. So I guess the question would just be to have some people go and take a look at that and provide feedback to Andre.
Yeah, good. Maybe you can post a link on discourse or somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there should probably go an announcement of this because there's also, I think, a new Fortran release.
Right, that's his question. Is should they consider this like the official initial release of Fortran? So
yeah, I'm quickly looking to the code. It seems to be quite complete. If you can compile all that stuff, I mean, for basic operations, it's important. I would say yes, based on what I saw now. Good, thank you. Oh, Milan is back, it seems. That's good.
Yeah, I'm here.
Good. So I propose that we move to the next topic. If hopefully Andre can hear us or even notice. So Sebastian, you propose to discuss about test drive, or at least to introduce that. Could you do that, please?
I think he froze again. You may have just lost him.
It will be difficult today. Yeah, otherwise we can move to the next topic, which yeah, they were also proposed by Sebastian somehow. But it's more general topic about Fortran discourse for the administration, moderation, and editing guide. Milan, maybe you can say a few words on that. I think that currently.
Yeah, so basically this has been up on discourse for, I believe, a week or two now. Now let me see if there's I don't think there has been much feedback on the governance. There has been some feedback on editing and moderation. Let me try to dig it out. Okay, so I mean, at this point, I don't necessarily want to go through and read it out for you. I assume all of us here are kind of, at least to a level, familiar with it. So I believe the idea here was just to get any feedback on the call. If all looks good, there hasn't been any, and now speaking strictly about administration, moderation, editing, I think we can, there hasn't been much or really any opposition to it or request for changes. So if we all agree here on the call, I think we can just, go ahead and incorporate it in the welcome to discourse topic as one of the docs. And that's all I have to say about that right now. Any feedback?
Yeah, it sounds good for me as it is, actually. So others?
I thought it all looked reasonable, and the handful of comments that we did get weren't really strongly opposed to how it stands now. So I don't see any reason not to go ahead and include it.
Yeah, thank you. Other comment? No? Yeah, if not, I think that, yeah, you can move forward with that, I guess.
Thank you. And Sebastian, do you want to say a few words about governance?
Yes, I will try before I drop out again. The other document we post on Discourse is the proposed governance for Fortran-lang. So basically describing what the responsibilities of the administrators and the maintainers are, and just giving an overview which tasks there are to perform, and if for example somebody's maintaining a project, that they know who to talk to if they want to accomplish a certain task, which is not possible due to the permissions we have to set at some point. Which is basically the main idea of just writing those down to give some source of information in case somebody's looking for this. And
Okay.
I think we want to include this document in the end at the Fortran-lang web page at the community section, so it's widely visible.
Yeah, good.
That sounds good to me.
Yeah. Okay, if there are no comments anymore on that, I think we can move forward with this. And then there was, I think, a linked point which is about governance for Fortran-lang. Sebastian.
That was the point we just discussed.
Yeah. Okay. That's
so we can go forward.
Yeah. Then the last point was about test drive that Sebastian started.
All right, I will try. Milan, can you allow me to share my screen again?
Try now.
I think it looks like he froze again, so.
Seems to be.
I don't know if anybody else here is qualified to speak about test drive.
Yeah, not to speak to its internals. I know that he recently added it to the Fortran-lang group or project, whatever you want to call it, on GitHub to make it available for use. He's been in the process of adopting it in stdlib, converting all of the tests in stdlib to using it, and then made it available for use as an FPM package. So I know that that's as much of an announcement as I know. I don't know if he was intending to go through some of the details and demonstrate it or not, but
Yeah, I personally move some tests to test drive.
Mhm.
It was quite easy to use.
Mhm.
Yeah, also like that. I didn't really check all the details of test drive, of course. Should have probably. Yeah, I cannot say much more than that otherwise.
It might be worth pointing out to others here who are not familiar with it. It's essentially grew out of the test framework that Sebastian put together for FPM. So essentially, it's already in significant use in the vast majority of the unit tests that we have in FPM. And as someone who's written a lot of those tests, it's really quite a nice, very nice way of quickly writing lots of tests and organizing them. So yeah, and the test drive package kind of just cleans that up and builds on it. So it's quite nice.
Does FPM use it directly from the GitHub project, or is it also included inside FPM?
Yes, so at the moment it's bundled with FPM, but I believe in the future we can very easily switch out to the new test drive project, which I believe adds a lot more functionality on what we've got in FPM at the moment.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I don't know. It seems that Sebastian is coming back. Milan, maybe a few words on that. Did you try test drive?
I only tried it in the capacity of adapting stdlib IO tests to it, and yeah, what I liked about it was very simple to learn how to use and to organize myself in my head with it. I mean, really, most work came in like resolving the tests themselves associated with stdlib IO rather than the testing framework itself. So that was really, it was very easy and it got out of the way. I liked it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's also my feeling. So thank you for that. We'll see if Sebastian come back or not. Are there other points? Oh, Sebastian. Yeah, Sebastian.
Yes, I'm back, but I can't promise that I will be staying here. My connection seemed to drop out every couple of minutes.
Let's give it a try.
Exactly. I can try, and maybe somebody of you can take over. I think Jeremy, Milan, you both worked with me on this pull request standard lib, which was what I wanted to show.
Yeah, actually, we all just kind of went in a circle and said a few nice things about test drive.
Okay.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Exactly. So if you have time, have a look over this pull request, which structures most of the tests of standard lib using the infrastructure. So we got almost all of them, except for a few. And
Yeah. Do we lost him again?
It sounds like it.
Yeah, okay. We should not insist then. Yeah, well, I think that's idea is to propose or to invite everybody to help to move the test if possible. Right. Yeah, so we cover all items on the agenda. Are there other items that you would like to propose? Any other business? Not? Yeah, if not, then I propose that we close the meeting and we'll see if in 1 month. Good?
Sounds good.
Good
Thank you.
luck for the people who are presenting at Fortran-Con.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
thanks, and good luck to everybody else. Yeah.
Yes, good luck.
Good luck.
May your internet hold up.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Enjoy the conference.
Bye.